Gempire is a game by Paul Elpers that is coming up on Kickstarter in the next few months. In today's interview, we chat with him about the rewards and challenges of launching a new game this way. Join us now on Legendary Tactics.
Today, we're joined by Paul Elpers, the game designer behind Gempire, a friendly hidden action strategy city builder. Welcome to the channel.
Hey, everyone. I'm Paul Elpers, and I'm the designer of Gempire. And I've been working on this game for a while now. It's, like he said earlier, it's a hidden action city builder, and we'll go a little bit into what that means later. But I've done all the art that you see on here myself. Although in about a month, there's going to be new art coming out that will look even better than this. But getting into a bit about what this game is about, King Zarmund is as the ruler of the Gempire, and we are all playing the lead architects of some up and coming cities in the Gempire. And so King Zarmund is needing a new capital city, and he's calling all of his lead architects into a competition to see who can build his capital. So,
very nice.
So I'm over here, and actually I'm going to toggle this button here. As the GM, I can do that. I have certain privileges.
You have godlike powers.
And so I'm over here on the left with this black book, and I'm going to be the city of Yadix. And actually, if you look at the rule book in the corner here, it has the map, and you can see where all the cities are in the Gempire. So I am the black one up in the top left. It's called Yadix.
Yep.
And Nathan, it looks like you are playing red in the bottom right in the forest, and you are the city of Jalarnam. And then we have Randy as the blue city in the top right. That's Caberthay. And Nick is going to be playing the green city in the bottom left, and that's Ireton. So
is this a symmetrical game or asymmetrical? Do we have different powers?
We do not have different powers, actually. And I kind of did that intentionally because, number one, I didn't want to have it be imbalanced in any way. I kind of wanted this game to be basically just a battle of brains, and the fact that everybody has the exact same starting point, and it will literally only come down to your personal strategy of to determine the outcome. So I didn't, and also, when a lot of times when I play games where people have unique powers or unique abilities, I find myself my strategy almost getting dictated by those powers because I feel like if I don't follow my power, then I'm not optimizing my my gameplay because other people will be using theirs. So if I don't use mine, I feel like I don't have a chance. So I feel like it offers a little bit more freedom of strategy in the fact that I can choose whatever I want to do here. I'm not basically predisposed to go for one thing. So
just to let our viewers know too, this game hasn't gone to press yet. You're in the process of creating it. But for those who might be interested in backing this or giving the game a try, what style of game is it? Are there any other games out there you could compare it to?
Maybe Civilization, but that's not even a board game. That's probably the closest thing that I can think of. But the nice thing about this game is that it doesn't really have turns. I mean, it has rounds, but everybody gets to go every single round. So we're never going to be waiting for other people to go. It is pretty unique in that aspect. And that's one of the things that keeps everyone engaged in this game.
How did you come up with the idea?
I don't think I really have a really grand story for that one. It was honestly, I think I was just sitting at a red light, honestly, one day when I was driving home from work. I remember the specific intersection I was at, and there was just this thought that came into my head, and I was like, you know what? I could build a game around that mechanic.
That sounds like a divine inception.
Right.
A shaft of light descended from the street light into your brain.
It kind of makes me worried about my ability to make another game, because I'm just kind of sitting here like, okay, well, is is my ability to create another game going to be dependent on me having this?
I would just hang around that intersection.
Yeah.
Right.
Sit there at the light all day and see if something else comes.
And you've had this in development for about 4 years now, I understand.
Yeah, 4 years. That intersection incident happened in 2017, and that's when I came up with the main mechanic. Which the main mechanic of this game is everybody. And I'm gonna toggle that button again. So you'll notice that when these veils are up, that you can only see your specific book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the main mechanic of this game is that everybody's going to be choosing their one action for that round at the same time, but they're going to be doing it in secret where nobody else can see what you're doing. And then when everyone's ready, I switch, and now we can all see what we chose. So there's going to be a lot of mind games in this game, of what you think other people are going to do that turn and trying to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have screens or something when you have the physical copy of the game?
So these, they'll actually be bifold dry erase books.
Oh, okay.
Right. So for the digital version, we have little text input boxes in the book where you can type numbers into and stuff. And then there's that clear fields button that will actually clear the bottom 2 rows. And that's where you take your actions. The top row there is where you keep track of your city's stats. So, but I mean, we haven't even mentioned the victory condition here. So basically King Zarmund, looking for his new capital city, is going to put out 3 demands. And that's the orange cards up there. Mm-hmm. Those are his 3 demands for his capital city. And
this changes from game to game?
Yes. So the deck over there on the left, there's a total of 15 cards, and we're going to be using 3 for our game. So these aren't the ones we're going to be using. We're going to shuffle them up and choose 3 new ones. But the point of the game is to try to get any 2 of those 3. So you pick the 2 that you think you can get the quickest together, and you try to get 2 of the 3. So whoever can get 2 of the 3 first wins the game and becomes the capital of the Gempire.
Okay, that's our victory condition. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And do you have a starter objective?
Will make sense later. So
yeah, a bunch of this is going to make more sense later. But
do you have starter objectives for the first game where they're maybe a little easier to achieve, or do we dive right in?
Let's dive right in. I actually, I probably could put some together. Now that you say that, that's a good point.
For like a nice little learning game, you can, a sort of a shortened version where you learn the basics.
Right. I mean, yeah, I definitely could do that.
That actually is a good idea. A really good one.
Or even ones that are geared more towards, younger kids. It looks like it's got a nice family kind of aesthetic to it.
Yeah. I put the age at 14 plus because it does have a fair bit of math in it. But I've had kids as young as I think 12 play this game, and although they don't win, but they still know what they're doing, and they still compete, so
well, and there's a lot of different reasons to play games, and for kids often it's just having fun and connecting with an adult too, right? So they don't even care if they're winning, or like some kids, they like, my daughter plays Wingspan and she just loves collecting birds. She doesn't care what they do.
And they just get the satisfaction of they're playing with the adults. Like that makes them really proud of themselves, it makes them really happy. So
I feel like if a kid were to win against adults at this game, they would feel very proud of themselves.
Big time. Yeah.
And as the adult, you should probably feel a little ashamed.
It happens to me all the time. I get schooled by my kids.
Yeah. So,
there's
all right.
Lots of shame. Me and I were playing a kids game last night.
Yes.
Totally destroyed them.
So what have the last 4 years been like as the production, of this game? Like what's been your experience? What insights could you share about what it's like to try and take an idea that you got at a stoplight and turn that into a game, that's going to succeed on Kickstarter?
I'm going to try to not talk too much here because there's so much I could say. But I have to say it's very it's mentally taxing. I mean, it's almost, I mean, whatever you think you expect it to be like, it's 10 times worse. And it really is. I mean, like, I had no idea. I mean, I thought, I did all the art for this game, and that in of itself was difficult to come up with all the designs and perfect them, and get them into a working version. But it's just, I didn't know all it was going to take to get prototypes and get get permissions on different stuff like licenses, and it's just, and then do the marketing. You try to do the networking for yourself. And so I would definitely say, especially if you're doing this solo, it's incredibly difficult. That
Good thing you've got Nick to help you out.
He's helped me out a few times. We've done, so he normally helps me out. Like if I have a design change on something that I need to change, like on all the cards, he'll help me change them and stuff like that. But it's very difficult, because just when you think you've like finished it, or just when you think you're done, or you think you're like, okay, I'm 80% done. You're not. I mean, like, I thought I was 90% done 2 years ago. And I'm just figuring out that I was actually probably only 33% done. So, and it just bogs you down. I mean, because it's such a slow process, and you just kind of, you eventually get to the point where you expect it to take longer than it did, but just the pace of the progress sometimes can really get to you. Now I'm not trying to say that anybody shouldn't do this, because it's going to be difficult, because well,
sometimes the most worthwhile things are difficult, right?
I mean, it's an amazing experience. I've learned how to use so many programs that I didn't know how to use before. So my knowledge of this type of stuff is definitely way higher than it used to be, but it's definitely an undertaking. And I would say if you go into it with high expectations of it being fun, you're probably going to want to tamper those down a little bit, because I think that's kind of what hits people like a brick wall, is they go into the design phase and they come up with all these really fun ideas, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. Like, this is going to be so amazing. And then they get down to the nitty gritty where they actually have to like start making stuff and actually
like
putting the game together. And it, like I said, it just hits you like a brick wall, and it becomes the business side of it becomes very tedious. And
well, it must be hard too, because there must be a financial investment you have to put forward before anyone in Kickstarter even supports you, without any promise of being paid back later if this project does get supported, right? So how do you deal with some of the emotions associated with that, and some of the risks that you must be feeling that you're taking?
That's a good question. I'm probably not going to be able to speak for everyone, because part of the reason I am able to do this is because I went to college and I got a degree in mechanical engineering. So, I do have a pretty well-paying job on the side of this. So I do have.
Your side hustle is to pay
right.
for.
So, but I also made that decision earlier in my life, because I knew it would give me the flexibility to go after things like this that I wanted to accomplish. So, that's definitely a good starting point, and it's definitely not a small undertaking, but that definitely helps. But like, I always try to think of it as, when I have to pay for things here or there. I mean, my prototypes cost probably $300 a piece.
Wow.
And I have 2 of them, and actually I've had 4 of them. So I've probably spent, close to $2,000 on prototypes. I spent probably over $2,000 just on my trip to Gen Con a couple months ago. So it's definitely it's definitely a lot of money to put down. But I think when you know you have a game that's special and you know you have a game that people are going to love, I can't let go of it.
Yeah.
And you almost have to make some decisions without emotion. Like you're always thinking, gosh, I can't get away from the fact of how much money I'm putting down on this and what else I could do with it. But I think it's especially when you figure out that making games is your passion, and that's something that you want to do for a long time. And that's something that you feel like you were meant to do.
Yeah.
It's true of any profession you enter. I mean, you add 5 days to your week if you enjoy doing it.
Right.
Now, what's been the most rewarding part of this process for you?
Rewarding is definitely the moment that I see people playing it and they forget that they're playing a game that hasn't come out yet. Like they're not like asking me tons of questions. They're like just sitting there as a group and they're thinking about what they're doing. And it's a smooth flowing game. And you can see that everybody's having fun with it. And especially when they get into that zone. And this is one of the great things about this game is I never see people pulling out their phones when they're playing because of that mechanic where everybody's involved every round.
That's great. I love
so
that in a game.
It's such a fantastic feeling. I got that so many times up at Gen Con where I just got to sit back and just watch the people play. And it was just, it made me a little emotional because of how much I've worked on it. And it finally got to accomplish, what it was meant to accomplish. And people had so much fun with it. So that's definitely the most rewarding part.
That's really cool. Great. And Gen Con was a pretty good experience as a first-time attendee.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I got to cosplay as King Zarmund.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
So I got to cosplay as King Zarmund, and then 4 of my friends from that playtest group got to go as well. And I like to call them the great architects of the Gempire. So they all wore like medieval tunics and belts and boots and stuff. And so they went as the great architects and I went as King Zarmund. And it was a really great time. I didn't get a lot of time outside of the playtest hall because, like I said, we had 14 sessions. So, and each session was 2 hours. So you're thinking, over a 3.5 day period, that's basically 3 sessions a day at least, or I guess 4 sessions a day, more than 4 sessions, about 4 sessions a day. So, I didn't have a whole lot of time outside of that, but I mean, I came there to see how people enjoyed my game anyway. So, so I definitely wasn't upset with the amount of sessions that we had. But other than that, we got to hang out in the exhibit hall some and bought some cool things and just met some really cool people and got some more followers for the Kickstarter. So it was all in all a really, really great experience. Like we all can't wait to go back next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully the game will be in production by then if it's on Kickstarter. So do you have any other advice for people trying to put a game out?
Yes. So advice, I would say get an artist. I think I learned that a little too late. So I actually kind of learned that from Gen Con. I was walking around the exhibit hall and just looking at the thousands of other games that are out there and just thinking there's no shot. Like I have no shot. If I don't make my art just premium quality, there's no shot that it's even going to catch the eyes of anyone. So that's kind of what prompted me to hire an artist to revamp the art for me. I kind of thought going in that it would have been cool to have the pride of knowing that I made an entire game on my own without anybody else doing anything for it. But I definitely realized for the good of the game at this point that it's definitely best to get some very high quality art. Yeah.
So are you going to have to rework all the art I guess you will have to rework all the art in there.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little reason why it's probably going to take me a little while to get it. I don't know how much longer it's going to take the artist, but I would assume that even after he's done, it's probably going to take me 2-3 weeks to get everything.
Yeah, but it's a labor of love. But I think you've got something here. I think it's a game where I think you'll probably attract probably more Euro style audience,
Yeah.
but it's something that I think would has got its place. So that's great.
Yeah.
What was the mechanic that came to you at the stoplight? What part of it?
The mechanic that came to me at the stoplight was the rolling, and then everybody can either choose to take the resources or do the bidding, and the mind games that happen with that. So like, because you'll have turns where huge amount of resources are rolled.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like, gosh, like I really don't want to pass up on all those. But then you're also kind of thinking, well, nobody else wants to pass up on all those.
Yeah.
So now you're like, okay, well, everybody's thinking that same thing. But so like, if I think that everybody's going to be lured in to take those resources, then I can just win all 3 buildings that are out there for the cheapest, like literally for the cheapest price I can pay for them. So,
wow. That's great. I like that idea. It makes it, especially I can see with 5 players, there's a lot of
chaos.
Craziness. Yeah, that's great.
A lot of like looking around the table, seeing, okay, who has a lot of production tokens this turn.
Yeah.
And then, you're kind of taking a look at their city and being like, okay, I think they might go for that card. And so you make a lot of decisions based off of what you can see and what you think the other person's going to do and whatnot.
That's good.
Yeah.
It probably did it come together very quickly, or was it something where you had to work through a lot of math?
Some parts went together quickly, some parts
it didn't come together very quickly, I would say, but it didn't change much. After I got it all worked out, it hasn't changed a whole lot. So the only thing that's really changed is I used to have this deck of special buildings. Yeah. That was like, I had, it was like 40 cards, and it was just 4 copies of 10 different buildings. And so what you would do is you would just choose 3 random buildings out of that deck. And those would be the special buildings. They would actually be up here where the victory conditions were. And the victory conditions were like either like above them or something like that.
Yeah.
And those would be like the special buildings that you could get for that game. And those would be different every game. So, and what I used to have was every time you got a purple gem, you just got to take one of those special buildings for free and just put it into your city.
Oh, wow.
I don't even remember that.
That was the very first, version, and then I changed it to get rid of those. I changed it to giving each of the victory conditions its own kind of like culture bonus to make it like
it's more streamlined.
Achievable.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah,
because a lot of times you would get special buildings that like didn't even help the people that much, and so then nobody would go for purple.
Yeah,
and then so. This version, purple is always worth something.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
That's no. And was it hard to give up that mechanic?
Yes.
Because it's one of those things where once it's in place, you're like, I got to make this work. I got to make it work, and then you realize it's just not working.
Well, because it was just another layer. It was just another layer of the replayability.
Yeah.
Because this game is so replayable. I mean, you could even have the same 3 victory conditions, but the text would make it totally different. Or you could even have the same 3 victory conditions, the same 5 texts, but then a stronger or weaker palace, and it would completely change it.
Yeah.
So you're literally never going to play the same game twice in this game. It's going to be completely different every time.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, and that's an important thing as well, because there's nothing worse than a game that kind of runs out of steam after 2 or 3, 4 plays.
Right. Yeah. And there's plenty of those.
Yes.
So, I mean, my Gempire group's probably played this 200 times, and they're having me over tonight to play again.
That's good.
This 2 years after they played it, over 2 years after they played it the first time, they're still loving it because every game is completely different.
Yeah.
So,
that's great. That's really encouraging. You get that, that much interest, and that sustainable interest that shows you got something. Right. So tell me about the replayability of this game.
So the replayability actually has a lot of layers in this game. First of all, you're going to have a deck of 15 victory conditions. I've done the math on this. There's actually 454 different combinations
of
victory conditions. There's actually There's 3 victory conditions in the deck that can only be held by one player at a time. And in order to prevent that game from happening, which could last forever, I did put a thing in the rule book that says if you get that combination of victory conditions, then you're supposed to redraw the last one. So that's where that, that I guess it's 15C3 is normally, 455, but, you had to bring it down to 54 because of that exclusion. But, so those will completely change your strategy every game, depending on, which 2 you're going to want to go for. You could even just switch one of these out and it becomes a completely different game.
Wow.
Because now, maybe 1 and 3 is easiest for this game, but then you switch number 3 out. Well, now maybe 1 and 2 is easier, or now maybe 2 and the new 3 is easier.
Yeah.
So you have replayability there, and then you have replayability in the technologies, because you have a deck of 21 technologies, and obviously these are the 5 for this game, but they're going to be completely different every game. So those completely change the path that you can take to get to the victory conditions, because they give you some really useful abilities. So you could even keep the same 3 victory conditions and change those out for new ones, and it's now a completely different game. And then the 3rd layer of replayability is the palace rewards, because these are randomized every game, and sometimes a bunch of blanks come out, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you have a bunch of diamonds out there, but single diamond, some more science.
That's ridiculous. Now in that case, would anyone bother building level 5?
Well, level 5, you would still get everything again. So level 5 in this case would basically be the same as level 4.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like once you've built your palace up to like level 4, you have to build to level 5.
Right. So you have to go up.
Okay.
So that's one of the decisions that people have to make is, a lot of people be like, well, wouldn't you just like jump straight from level 0 to level 5? Well, you'd blow up for that one turn, but then you can't use the palace again for the rest of the game. So
yeah. So
like if you happen to have like there's 1 triple diamond in here. And if that triple diamond happens to come out on number 1, it's going to be the last token, I swear.
Yeah.
If you have a triple diamond on number 1, well, that's a really good reward. So like you might be better off just leveling up to level 1, then leveling up to
2,
level 2,
then 3, then 4, then 5.
So, you would think, going straight to level 5 is the best way to go, but that's not necessarily the case, especially like, even if we had this, let's say we had something like this. Well, for this game, you see number 2, the second victory condition is have 10 more science than every other player.
Yeah.
So in this case, you might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It completely depends on how the chips fall, really. But that is yet another layer of the replayability. Is how much do you expect to be able to use the palace to your advantage this game?
Yeah.
Because the last game that I played yesterday, the palace was terrible. We had a blank. We had a blank on number 1. I think we had like a weak science on number 2. We had like another blank on number 3, and we had like maybe a single diamond on like level 5. And it was just like, well,
no point. No point.
Whatever your strategy is, like whatever your strategy is for that game, you're probably not going to expect to be able to use those multipliers very well. But so you got to kind of build a strategy that circumvents that.
Yeah, that's neat. So that does add a lot of replayability, and I mean, if your group has played 200 times, then I don't know how many times you've played. But
I actually haven't played as many as they have.
Oh, really?
I'm normally on the watching side. So
you're taking notes and listening to people and watching what they're doing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I've probably played, I would say, about 60 times.
Yeah. Wow.
But probably not near as many as they have.
Yeah. Oh, that's great though. Because hey, that play testing is the hardest. It's hard to get good play testers. It's just something.
And it's nice to have people that play it that many times, because they have something to compare it to. Like if you consistently get new players, they don't have a reference point. So they can't say, this was better than last time, because there was no last time.
Yeah, true.
So To have people that have played it that consistently and that many times,
and they can say game
so
200 and game 201 was better than game 68, something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's very cool to see a game go through its paces and evolve. And we're looking for this game to appear on Kickstarter in the next few months.
Yes. And from what I've been told from a lot of people, it's very hard to find on Kickstarter and the upcoming projects. But you can get there either on my website, which is gemtimegames.com. There's a button at the top of the page that links to the Kickstarter page, and you can just click notify me on there. And you can also, I think I have a link pinned in my profile on my Twitter account. So you can also reach it there. There might also be a link on my Facebook page at Gempire Games.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you telling us all about what it takes to bring a game to life and learning about this game. And we will follow up. There will be links at the end of this video to our playthrough, which we're going to start now. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Thanks for joining us on Legendary Tactics.